everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hey. So, hope everyone is having a good 2021 so far. But, we're doing our best. Anyway, I thought that today, okay, let me set this up first. So today I'm going to be reading, or kind of telling, some Irish folklore. Basically, I've been watching a couple of true crime ASMR videos to have on in the background, and I thought about doing some, but listen, first of all, true crime is dark, and I don't really know if that's the energy I wanted to bring. So then I was thinking, what other kind of conversational story-esque video could I do? And Irish legends are plentiful, and they're also very kind of, as most folklore is, they are easy to speak, and I can just kind of speak to you as if it's true crime, because I think that they're really fun videos to have on in the background if you're studying, working, or whatever you're doing, even to go sleep to. I just find true crime is not easy to go sleep to sometimes. Then again, some people find it easy. Anyway, I have 4 stories, and listen, there are tons, so if you guys do enjoy or would like some more, or are interested in any of them, I'm going to be telling them quite briefly. I have them just here if I need to go back for a reference. I have the Salmon of Knowledge, I have the Banshee, which is a little bit spooky, but that's okay, the Children of Lear, and the Giant's Causeway. All are pretty famous, so I'm gonna start off with the Salmon of Knowledge because it will tie in with our final story, which is the Giant's Causeway. But the Salmon of Knowledge is a very famous, I mean, they're all famous, so I'm not gonna keep saying they're very famous, but it is it was told a lot to me in school, just a quick, let's just entertain the kids for a while and tell them the story they've already heard. Basically, the 2 characters we have 2 characters in this. It is Fionn McCool. Fionn McCool, which is spelled Cumhail, Irish spelling, and then Finnegas. I think it's Finnegas. Let me check. Finnegas. He's a poet, Finnegas. I believe it's Finnegas. I'm gonna make sure. Hello, Finnegas. It is definitely Finnegas. So, basically, Finnegas is an older poet who is, from the tales that I have been told, he's kind of an outdoorsy type. He lives in a kind of a tent, a permanent tent by the lake, by the river, because he's heard about a story of a salmon, a very magical salmon that has all the knowledge of the world. So, one day Fionn McCool, who is a prominent character throughout these, who in this story is very young, he goes to stay with Finnegas, the elderly poet, and Finnegas has dedicated his life, and he's been looking for the salmon for years and never come up with anything. But one day when he's with Fionn McCool, he spots it in the river, swimming up as salmon do, and he doesn't hesitate and just dives right in, grabs it, catches it, and there you go, he's got the Salmon of Knowledge. And he is, beyond excited, because obviously this is his life's work. So he gives Fionn McCool the task of cooking the salmon, but he says not to eat it, because obviously Finnegas wants that. So Fionn McCool is cooking, and whatever he's doing, he's, basting it, he's gonna add some glaze on the top. But because he's a infant, I don't know what age he is, but he burns his thumb while cooking this salmon. Classic. And his immediate reaction is thumb in the mouth to try and ease the pain. He puts his thumb in his mouth to ease the pain. However, he's just touched this salmon to flip it over because he's burnt his thumb. And then he knows what he's done. He's made a mistake at this point because he's technically put the salmon in his mouth by whatever, touching the salmon and putting it in his mouth. So later Finnegas comes home and he can tell that something is up. And Fionn confesses that he accidentally did this. So Finnegas just said, you know what, you have to eat it quickly, or maybe the magic will go away. So Fionn eats it as fast as possible, as quick as he can, all down the mouth, into the stomach, and nothing happens. So they're really confused, because this salmon is meant to give them the knowledge of the whole world, and make them better people, and make them better leaders, and make them, you know, the best that they can be. However, as we can see, this didn't happen to Fionn. So Finnegas suggests that Fionn takes his thumb again, the burnt thumb, and put it back in his mouth to close the cycle. And this is when everything changed. Fionn then became very, very knowledgeable. He gained all of the salmon's knowledge, and he went on to be a very, very great warrior for Ireland in a warrior group. I don't know what you call a group of warriors. An army called the Fianna. So the Fianna is what Fionn led, and we will learn more about him in our final story. But that was salmon knowledge. So in terms of the Banshee, I think we should get onto that one because it's a bit spooky. The Banshee is a ghost or a fairy. Something, if I do continue this, you will notice is there is a lot of fairies along the within the universe of Irish myths and legends. They really love a fairy. I gotta say, it's just fairy centric. But so people believe it's a fairy, people believe it's a ghost, a demon, or whatever. But it's strange because this one is something I know a lot of people do believe in. It's like a superstition as well. It's strange. I don't believe in it because I'm very intelligent. No, anyway. But a lot of people do, and they think, you know, and that's fine. You believe in whatever you want to believe. So, anyway, the story of the Banshee, in a nutshell, is this ghost or fairy screams at the dead of night, and it is a signal that someone in your family is going to die. Another version is the Banshee will knock at your door at night, and that's a signal that someone in your family is going to die. Pretty scary to think of, you know, if you're just sitting in bed and you hear this, like, really, it's like a blood-curdling scream. Terrifying. But anyway, that's the Banshee. That's her story, but her origins, which is something I actually didn't know myself, is from a really ancient thing called keening. And keen comes from the Irish word to cry or to weep. And basically it was a job for a woman or a couple of women to be paid. So they were paid to cry and mourn people, which is crazy. And I'm not sure, it just kind of spirals into now a ghost is keening for your loved ones. But yeah, as I said, very, very believable to people. It's crazy that, you know, I mean, a lot of Irish folklore is not believed. It's very much folklore mixed in with history. So you'll have, you know, actual kings and queens and this, and then they're mixed in with these folklore legends. Not really sure why. Again, I could look into that. Why it's so intertwined with history. Anyway, that's the Banshee. There's not really much. I was looking for a little bit more, and I'm sure there's probably, I didn't do that much research, let's be honest, but I wanted to get a little bit more context, and that's all I could really find in my 5 seconds. I'm all on the same website, which by the way is theirishroadtrip.com. if you're interested in reading these yourself. But like, don't spoil if I'm gonna do more. Why would you do that? I'm just kidding. The third one is The Children of Lear. This is one that was told just so many times to me in different classes and different, activities. But we had, actually, just a quick side note, we had a teacher, like a substitute teacher, who would always be like the storyteller, and he told great stories, and it was like, you want him to be your substitute teacher because he would just tell you this amazing story for the whole day and not do any work. But he was the one who told us The Children of Lear for the first time. And basically, what happens is Ava is married to the king, and they have 4 beautiful children, 2 boys and 2 girls, I believe. And they're living a great life. He's the king. They're just children growing up being, bratty. And then Ava gets sick and she passes away. And then the king marries Ava's sister. Ava's sister's name is Aoife, which is Aoife. Aoife is how you pronounce that. Irish names are great. So, Aoife is then the stepmother to these 4 children, the Children of Lear, and they all have a great time because obviously that's their aunt. They know her, they love her. It's a great time. It's very strange, but who are we to judge? But over time, Aoife grows quite jealous of how much time the king spends with his children. She wants him all to herself. So she tries a couple of things. She tries to feign sickness. So she fakes a sickness. So rude, how dare she? And that doesn't work. He's like, oh no, let the staff take care of that. So she's still jealous. She's enraged, horrified, and then she decides, okay, if they're not gonna stop this, I'm gonna kill him. So she hires 2 men, and she brings these 4 children down to the lake, and she says, kill these children because I want my husband all to myself. And the men go to do it, but in a final moment they decide, you know what, no, I can't do it, so they run away. And the woman says, Aoife says, fine, I'll do it myself. But she then worries that the children will haunt her, and that's just too much on her conscience. So instead, she decides to put a 900-year curse on these children to be swans. So they have to be swans for 900 years and spend 300 years in a lake, 300 years in a different lake, and then 300 years in, I think, a river. I'm not 100% sure, I forget. Let me just check it out. There is, okay, here we go. 300 years in the lake of Derivaraga. Sometimes I can't do the Irish names either. Okay, the second 300 years is spent in the Sea of Moyle. And the final 300 years is on an island called Inishglora. Inish is quite a popular place name for Irish places. I don't know how else to say that. Anyway, they are banished. They are spending their time. However, what she didn't account for is that, of course, these swans could still sing. So they make their way back to the castle before spending their 300 years stuck in this lake. And they get to their dad, the king, and they sing a song about how about his wife, Aoife, that she put this curse on him. So finally he's enraged because he loves his kids. And he banishes Aoife, and she's never seen again. Bye, Aoife, you nasty. So then, they all got to deal with it. So they spend this first 300 years just doing whatever. They're accustomed to their life at this point. Their dad, the king, has come and see them as much as he can down at the lake. But people get old, as you know, and he ends up passing away, so they have to spend the rest of the time just kind of swimming along in this lake before the 300 years is up. So they finish their first 300 years, and they are then into the Sea of Moyle, which is a lot more turbulent. So they have a really, really hard 300 years. They're separated for the most of it. They're battling huge storms and trying to stay afloat. It's not a pleasant one, but they get over it, and they finish these 300 years, and they end up then finally in Inishglora. So they spend this last 300 years there, and towards the end they go to a man's house, and he's taking care of them before before they turn back into children, which how selfless of him. He takes care of the swans. They are doing great. One day the king of Connacht, so there are 4 provinces in Ireland. They are Leinster, Munster, Connacht, and Ulster. They are the 4 provinces, and there was a king for each one, and we have counties within those. And for a while, Meath, which is a county, had its own king. So there were 5 kings, and then there were 4. And anyway, so there was kings, and the king of Connacht came by and he said, "Listen, I want those swans. They lived 900 years. I could live 900 years if I found out their secret." So he goes to take them by force, and before he does, a big puff of mist comes up, and they turn back into children because it was their last few days of being swans. And the king is like, "Oh, come on." But they're still children at this stage, so he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get him anyway and get them to talk." Before he can get to them, they start to age very, very fast. They're aging and they're aging and they're aging. They have 900 years to age, and they aged in 900 years within a couple of seconds, and then they die. So that's it. The children of Lear, they die. And I don't really know if there's meant to be a message in any of these stories, but I did not find one in that. Maybe don't be jealous, because then your children-in-law will be your stepchildren, not children-in-law, your stepchildren will be swans forever. I don't know. But anyway, the Giant's Causeway is our final story. So that is a really, really famous, here we go with the word famous, landmark in Ireland. It is up in the north coast of Ireland. If you just look up the Giant's Causeway, if you've never seen it before, it is the most ridiculous looking formation of rocks. They're like hexagonal rocks, and so the scientific explanation is just some freak of volcanic nature. I haven't really looked into that because I wanted to talk more about the myth of it. But anyway, it's a huge attraction, and it is, these like hexagonal rocks, and they're like, different levels, and they're insane to look at. So if you have never seen them, do look them up. But anyway, I'm going to get into the legend, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of an explanation first about how they look, just so you could have that picture in your head. Okay, let's get into it. So, we have Fionn McCool back for our final story of the evening, and somewhere along the way he became a giant. Not really sure why, and also he's the biggest, baddest giant in Ireland. His voice could be heard for miles and miles and miles around. Yeah, and then, listen, he heard of a story of a giant in Scotland called Benandonner. Benandonner was a giant in Scotland, and he said, listen, Fionn, I want to challenge you to a fight. I don't know why, he just wanted to. He's a big guy. A messenger, a small, teeny tiny messenger came by and said that. He gave him the message and he said, listen, he wants to fight you. And Fionn was like, okay, bring it on, I'm gonna do it. But there was one problem. Ireland and Scotland are separated by water. So Fionn, where his house was, is at the top of Ireland in a county called Antrim, which is in Northern Ireland. And so what he did was he said, listen, I'm gonna head over. So he grabbed bits of Antrim's coastline and he just chucked it into the water, just threw it. But all these pieces were hexagonal because, you know, he's just taking them up and giants make hexagonal shapes. And this was a bridge just strong enough to hold Fionn's weight. And so he gets over to Scotland, he gets halfway to Scotland, excuse me. So Benandonner is trying to get there and he gets about halfway before Fionn gets halfway because, as we'll find out, Benandonner's huge. So he, you know what, he says, I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna take a little nap and wait for him. I'm gonna have the best energy possible for when Fionn gets here. Fionn is chucking stones faster than he can think, just on the way over, and he sees the bridge that Benandonner's made, and it's big. Listen, it's a big bridge, and Fionn's like, that's a little bit bigger than my bridge. So anyway, he cautiously walks over, and he sees Benandonner sleeping on the coastline. And Benandonner's big, like Benandonner's real big. Like really, really, really big. So Fionn says, listen, I have all the knowledge in the world. This is a bad idea. He runs on home and he goes to his wife who's living in their house on the Antrim coast. And she says, I have a better idea than fighting him because you're going to look like a damn fool if you do. So she makes him a baby costume. And then Fionn constructs a crib to sit in. So he wears the baby costume and he sits in the crib. Benandonner wakes up and he's thinking, where's Fionn? He's meant to be here. So he gets up and he runs across the bridge. And he's mad because he was ready for the challenge. He storms into Fionn McCool's house, which obviously is made for a giant. And he says to the wife, listen wife, they don't give her a name, where is Fionn McCool? And she says, oh, he's just out. And he says, Benandonner then says, listen, I don't believe you for a second. Fionn McCool is a coward. So he checks in every room, the kitchen first, nothing. The bedroom, nothing. The living room, nothing. But then he sees a crib by the fireplace, and he sees how big this baby is, because Fionn McCool is the baby. And he thinks, oh, if Fionn McCool's baby is this big, I don't want to know how big Fionn McCool is. So then he decides, nah, you know what, I've left the oven on, there's rain in Scotland, it's slippery, I'm gonna just head back. On the way back, he smashes the bridge, let's get out of here, so that Fionn McCool can't get to him, because in his mind, Fionn McCool is huge. But as we know, he's just quite giant-sized, really. Benandonner then stays over in Scotland, terrified of Fionn McCool, who is just sitting in a crib in a baby costume. And that is it. That is the story of the Giant's Causeway, as told in the myth side of it, which I think is ridiculous, but it's amazing. Those are my myths. Those are it. That's it for this evening. I really hope you enjoyed this kind of style of storytelling, which is kind of chaotic and from memory. But if you did, please let me know, and I would love to do more, because as I said, there are tons stories if you'd like. But until then, I shall let you go. Watch some true crime or something. Enjoy your evening, enjoy your night, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.